This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, saving your day from boredom with the best podcasting entertainment.
Welcome, nerds. I'm Mark Weber, and you're listening to A Graphic Conversation, the bi-weekly podcast where we read, discuss, and recommend the best, and hopefully not the worst, in graphic novels. I am joined, as I always am, by the original man-child, Ricky Widmer.
What's up, guys?
And for this one, we read Deadpool and Cable, If Looks Could Kill. So, for everybody who now is, really into Deadpool and excited for Deadpool, the movie number 2.
Because Ryan Reynolds made him cool, is that what you're saying?
I mean, pretty much. I mean, really, because if you think about it, and I'm not trying to be a hipster or anything like that, I was not a Deadpool fan really too much before the movie. I mean, I appreciated Deadpool a little bit, but most people did not know who Deadpool was. Right. We can accept that.
Well, and the thing I kind of think about today is I saw, this will kind of date to when we're recording this, is the trailer for Teen Titans Go to the Movies came out today. And when they got to Slade Wilson, who's in that trailer, Robin goes, "Oh, you're Deadpool." And he's like, "No, I'm not Deadpool. I was around before Deadpool."
Yeah. Now, if you're new to this podcast, if you just randomly found it some way, shape, or form, first of all, let me tell you some things, and then I'll give you a little description about what we're going to do today. First of all, head to mostvaluablepodcasts.com. There's tons of good stuff on there. You can also see a link there to buy T-shirts for Most Valuable Podcasts. So if you like our podcast, you can show the world just how much you like it. Don't forget patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcasts. If you like this thing and you want to get these episodes early, because remember, they come out every other week. So if you want to get it a little bit early because you just don't want to wait, that's the way you can do it. You can also get exclusive podcasts on there, potentially even call in, be part of shows that we have here on Most Valuable Podcasts, all sorts of things like that. Don't forget as well, Twitter, at Ricky Widmer, at the Mark Weber, at Most Valuable Pod, and give us some 5-star reviews on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, all that type of stuff. It just kind of helps people figure out when they're looking for a podcast, if this is something they should look at. And if you can give a written review, you don't have to, but it's awesome if you do. Just because, once again, when someone's asking, should I listen to this? Hopefully you tell them, yeah, here's why. What we do, like I said, we talk about a certain graphic novel. This is a spoiler-free section, so don't feel like you should be scared if you haven't read this. You don't have to read it if you don't want to be a part of the podcast, but it kind of helps somewhat, but we'll keep it spoiler-free for a little bit so you can kind of decide if you want to listen. But let me ask right off the bat, because I would say you're a pretty decent Deadpool fan.
I would say he's my third favorite Marvel character, almost, okay. I would say.
So what were your expectations coming into this?
My biggest expectation coming into this is just what I knew, because you knew it was Deadpool, you knew it was Cable. And the big thing coming into this that I thought was, usually when Cable's a part of something, he's coming back in time to stop something, so that it doesn't happen in the future. So like,
that's
I'm
why
stop
you make Terminator references and jokes and stuff like that.
I am going to stop this so X bad thing doesn't happen. So and so can't use this to hurt someone.
And
in
if
the
you're
future.
a fan of the butterfly effect, you know what happens when you do things like that.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, exactly. I mean,
but he comes back from the future.
Yeah.
So he knows exactly what to do to create a better future, apparently. He's also got telekinetic powers.
Yeah, which is really what his fun part is. Really, isn't this Team OP for Marvel? Like, Deadpool and Cable is like such an OP connection.
I guess,
A combination, I should say.
Because Deadpool can't die.
Deadpool can't die. Cable comes from the future and has all these awesome telekinetic powers.
Yep.
People shooting at him, and he's like, nope, too bad. I'm trying to keep it spoiler-free, and that was a little spoilery, but
the thing is, I don't know if this is spoiler-free for the Cable character, so I'll keep it for spoiler mode.
That works. That's fair. Yeah, I just think it's interesting. One thing I always like about Deadpool specifically, but Cable's part of it too. I mean, yeah, the humor's one thing, but I like the X-Men quite a bit. So I always like the fact that when it's Deadpool, a lot of times the X-Men are like slightly involved or being made fun of or something like that. Because he is kind of the I don't want to call him a dropout mutant because it's not like he was part of the X-Men necessarily.
Well, I mean, he kind of has gone. He's kind of flowed into the X-Men and out of the X-Men.
Yeah,
because he's a good and a bad guy. He's a mercenary.
I mean, you see, we're not in spoiler mode, so I'm not going to say that. But yeah, he for sure is a mercenary. For me, some of my expectations, I expect it to be funny. I expect to laugh through it.
I expect, usually when I read a Deadpool thing, depending on when it was written, I expect a lot of pop culture references.
Yeah.
Like, for this one, I will spoil, Yao Ming was in it.
Yep.
Because at the time, Yao Ming was popular when this was written.
Yeah. Now, at the same time, that does date some of these as well, because for a lot of people, they're sitting there going, who's Yao Ming? Exactly.
The Houston Rockets, that's Yao Ming.
If you weren't right in that, like, what was he like? He was only really a big deal for like 2 years, maybe.
A little bit more than that.
Like, he was in the NBA, but he was really only a big deal for a small amount of time. He was a kind of a little bit of flash in the pan, I would say. But yeah, I mean, if you miss that, then you just plain miss it.
He was drafted in 2002, so when we were 12.
Yeah, but like I said, it's not necessarily his NBA career. It was just when he was a big deal for a short amount of time.
I would say 02 to 11, so a decade.
I think you're giving it too much credit for him being a pop culture phenomenon.
He was. He's
not for a decade.
He's basically the one that made Chinese and the NBA.
Yeah,
or China and the NBA linked and strengthened that. He's the 6th president of the Chinese Basketball Association,
which is true.
Right
I
now.
still think we're talking about different things right
we
now,
are.
though. But anyways, to get off of the basketball, if you like basketball, go check out the Fast Break. You can do that, but. I expect a lot of that funny stuff, humor. I expect it to be entertaining. I expect it to be a quick read as well. That's the thing about Deadpool. It's always a fast read. Do you think this was
a quick read?
I don't think it was a long read.
It wasn't
but I don't know that it was
as I
quick.
expected.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of feel like that was a little... It's not a bad thing, but I don't feel like this hit all of my expectations.
Well, this one, I think the thing that they did well... is they called it Cable and Deadpool.
Yeah.
Because really the main person of this is Cable.
Yeah, it's a lot more Cable than it is Deadpool.
Yeah, and this was published in 2007.
If I remember right, this was, I think, them trying to kind of reinvigorate Deadpool, get him back, and then it stopped. They came back and they did this Deadpool Cable thing, and Deadpool Cable lasted for a while, and then they stopped, and then they rebooted Deadpool again, which I believe might have been the time where they rebooted it with Brian Posehn and Jerry Duggan writing it. So if you like that kind of humor, that's exactly what you'd expect out of Deadpool. But so Deadpool's one of those hard ones for Marvel, I think, where it kind of comes and goes in segments. It's not like you're always going to have Wolverine, you're always going to have the X-Men, you're always going to have, Spider-Man or anything like that.
It's kind of like a revolving door of mutant characters that can be used with them.
Well, no, I was saying, like, it's not like you're always going to have a Spider-Man comic.
Oh, yeah.
For Deadpool, right now you'll keep having it, but for this, we're kind of, wanes a little bit on whether people are buying it or not. Now, to say this question, who is this for? Who is this type of thing for? Who's Deadpool for in general?
I think this is for... So the art style, to me, kind of reminds me of, like, something that I would see from, like, a Super NES game. Where it's, like, if the cutscenes... That what I would see this art style being. So, like, if you were a fan of those games, if you're a Marvel comic fan... If you just love superhero comics and love to laugh and see pop culture references, it's also for you, too.
Yeah, I think that the nice thing about Deadpool is it's such an easy entrance point for a lot of people. Even when they are, potentially, and they don't really make fun of other superheroes that often in this particular one.
Usually he's either making fun of himself or, like in this one, making fun of Cable.
Yeah. So, like, you don't really have to know a lot to enter into this. If you, have only ever seen, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies, and that's all, because you've completely missed out on all the other
Sam Raimi Spider-Man.
You completely missed out on every other thing going on in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That's okay. You can still jump into this and go in and say, okay, I enjoyed this. You can still definitely do that. Now, right off the bat, before we enter into spoiler mode, because we both have almost said things already, so I want to get us into it. For those of you who have not read it, Ricky, do you think that they should drop what they're like? Should they read it? Should they be a part of that, or maybe not? And we'll go into more detail later.
I think you should read, like, if you like superheroes, if you like Marvel, you should read this. But this isn't one where I'm going to say put it on the list. It's a must read. If you like it, go ahead and read it. You won't be disappointed. But if you don't read it, I'm not going to chastise you for it.
Exactly. I think it's the kind of thing where, especially even with this podcast, you can you can keep listening and not have read this and still enjoy listening to parts of it. But if you read this thing, you'll read it in like 40 minutes. 40 minutes to an hour. It's not that long. I think it's only, I don't remember if it was 5 or 6 issues. I think it was 6.
Yeah.
So for a graphic novel standpoint, that might be a little bit longer than some other ones where they might be 4 or 5 issues. But you know, we're about to enter spoiler mode. So what we do, we go into spoiler mode. We don't care. We'll spoil any of it. If you have not read it and you want to, don't hit pause yet, but pretty soon hit pause. I'll tell you when. Do that so that way you can be a part of it, but you don't have to. Just comment in the sections and stuff like that. Enjoy and listen. So, Ricky, let me ask you a question. Do you feel welcomed?
I do.
Okay, good. I want you to feel welcomed in the spoiler zone right now. As I always tell people, welcome to the spoiler zone here. Let's talk about it because we've almost kind of spoiled things. Right in between, you know, for those of you who are watching on YouTube, you notice that there might have been a jump cut because of the way the camera works.
There's always a jump cut.
Yeah, it's just fancy.
Always. It's how we do things, Mark.
So in between that,
accept it, people.
I brought something up, and I want to bring it up now.
Okay.
Just the plot of this.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the plot?
So for me, the biggest thing that I was confused about was, and maybe you can tell me what you thought. So there's this thing, right, that kind of changes people's appearance.
Yeah.
And then it kills them, basically. I was thinking, all right, Cable's coming back because someone wants to use this weapon for bad. Oh, it is this Brotherhood. Maybe they want to use it for bad. Then at the end, I'm like, wait, Cable's the bad guy?
Yeah.
He's the bad guy?
Okay, so it's weird. So for anybody...
Did I not get that? Like, when the whole building, when he, like, took it all apart, I'm like, so wait, Cable's he's the bad guy? Like,
yeah.
What?
So, essentially, for anybody who didn't read it, Ricky's right. There's this, I almost want to call them a cult, basically.
They are.
And what they're saying is...
They are a cult.
There's a lot of division in this world that shouldn't be there. So we are going to solve that problem by making everybody the same, essentially.
Those are Smurfs.
Blue. So essentially what they're saying is that race is the biggest issue, and we're going to tackle that. Ignoring the fact, of course, that then someone will just pick something else.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just going to move to gender.
Green.
Yeah, well, no, everybody's blue. You don't have a choice. Right. You are blue.
So now all of us need to be men, or all of us need to be women.
Or it's going to be a height thing, or maybe if it doesn't change eye color. Now, it's funny, actually, because Deadpool references Star Trek at one point, and talking about the blue people. There's a great Star Trek episode where they are somewhere where everybody is gray. And they're like, oh, that's cool. You know, you don't have any race issues or nothing. Oh, no, they still have that. It's just... Are you a light gray? Are you a dark gray? How gray are you?
Yeah.
You know, that's what essentially what it'll become. It'll just become how blue are you? But anyways, so they want to do this, and they had this plan, and they needed a virus that gets stolen from a pharmaceutical company, but it was a virus that still had a flaw. The flaw is, sure, you can use it to turn people blue, but it's going to melt you. Yeah. You will melt and is the issue. Die. And you die because you have melted, unless you are Deadpool. But anyways, so they are going to use it. And yeah, you think that Cable's coming back because he's saying he's watching these people. But at the same time, like you said, you know, he's usually coming back in the future to stop something from happening. But I'm sitting there and as I'm reading this and I'm like, but this doesn't seem like that big of a deal to me. This does not seem to me to be the thing Cable would come back to try and stop.
No, what I was thinking of is...
And I know what you're getting
It's not necessarily... What if it's not them? He's trying to avoid it falling into the wrong hands, which it probably did, which is the future he's coming from.
So something has happened, evidently, that made Cable think of this. I have all this power. I can, you know, make people be the way they should be. Right? it kind of reminds me of a classic thing that you hear from supervillains of like, I know the way it should be. I'm going to force everybody to do it. And they keep referencing Hitler for a reason. It's not just that, Wade Wilson being Wade Wilson. They're referencing Hitler on purpose to make you think about it. But as we go through everything and he has a conversation.
Like the Aryan race and it's all.
He's got a conversation with Charles Xavier so about that. He says, you should understand, we have this tremendous power, but, Professor X, of course, is saying that, yeah, but who says that you're the one who should be able to make those decisions for people?
Which then it shows how powerful Cable is, because that was a freaky thing to me, where not only did he levitate Xavier off the chair, basically took the whole house apart. Like, even the screw to the chair and just everything was apart.
Right.
And I'm like, holy crap.
The funny thing to me in my mind is what happens after that panel when he leaves. So he's just going to let Xavier drop to the ground. Just fall to the ground then as he's been raised up in the air. Anyways, so yeah, I mean, at the end, this is something where I say the plot is kind of silly and just kind of a little lame in this case. So their idea is they want to turn people blue. And we think that, they tricked Cable, but really Cable tricked them. It was one of those just, aha, no, type of things of like, when I view it, it's like, we thought this, and without setting it up, without hinting at it, they just said, nope, Cable's been manipulating it the entire time. Felt very lazy to me. Felt very much like they're just trying to throw a twist in there for no apparent reason.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't buy the whole, like, wait, Cable's the villain? Like, he's the bad guy?
To me, it was very much just they're like, hey, this isn't really working that well. Let's just throw this twist in there and see. So he, instead of turning people blue, decides to turn people pink.
Yeah.
And whatever.
It's different than blue.
Yeah. And he set this whole thing up essentially so he could absorb some of Deadpool's powers as well. He kind of did that on purpose.
Because he needed it when he was infected with it. He needed it so that basically, I'm going to call it metal cancer that he's got. The metal cancer can't kill him. His telekinetic powers can keep it at bay still.
Yeah, he basically makes himself stronger.
Yeah.
And then makes himself essentially the God Emperor of Earth. Except for, of course, then at the very end, the cliffhanger is that Cyclops and Beast, and I forgot who the third X-Men was who was there, they pop up and they're like, well, Professor X said that we were going to fight you if you did it, so we're here to fight you. What I kind of feel like for this, like I said, the plot is kind of lame. The plot boils down to this. Colt wants to make everybody the same, and Cable at the end says, I'm going to be God. Yeah. It is really what the plot. We talk about how a lot of these first books are setup books a lot of the times, and I feel like it has part of that. Like they're setting up for really...
Because this does go into a volume 2.
Yeah. And I feel like they're really just kind of trying to do this to set up this dynamic between Cable and Deadpool having to constantly interact with each other. My favorite part of this book...
because now they have the, like, he goes, I am one, and he can teleport, but then now Deadpool can go, no, we are two, and then just teleport both of them.
Yeah, the body slide, or I forgot what the actual wording was, but yeah, exactly. When one teleports, they both are teleporting together because their DNA is now linked.
Yep.
Now, I think I kind of find that idea just funny and humorous, and I'm excited to see where that would go in the future. So I kind of enjoyed that. What's your favorite part of this?
I think my favorite part is when the group of hooligans, I'm going to call them, the two guys and the girl.
The anarchists?
Yeah, the anarchists. They have it, and Cable stops them, and then Deadpool's kind of interacting with Cable then, where it's like Cable's answer is just, shoot him in the head, I'm going to slow him down. It's going to take you a while to regenerate.
Yeah.
I can move forward with my plan before you regenerate and then get in my way.
Now, what's your least favorite part?
My least favorite? I kind of want to say the ending. Because, like, the whole thing of Cable being... unless I'm totally misunderstanding everything,
Now, I don't
Cable
necessarily
being
know.
the bad guy, being the bad guy.
Yeah, I don't know if he's supposed to be a bad guy, like a villain.
Because it was Cyclops, Beast, and then Emma Frost.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Were the three at the end. But they also have, don't forget, like, Nick Fury's in this.
Yep.
Is it General Washington? No. It's something Washington, who everyone thought Terry Crews was going to play in the X-Force movie and in Deadpool 2. He's also in this as well. Something Washington is his name. He's a part of X-Force. But I mean, to me, I thought that the ending wasn't as strong as I thought it would be. Yeah, I wasn't totally like against there being a twist to where it's like, oh, you think this cult is bad? Oh, wait, no, they're not. I just didn't like the twist.
Well, the cult was still bad too.
But it was like when he observed them, and they were like, well, have you found anything bad? And he goes, well, no, not really. Well, have you found anything against us? No, not really.
But he also was still supposedly manipulating them at that time. So, like, supposedly, they knew that there was still a flaw in the virus that was going to melt people. They knew that Deadpool was going to melt.
Yeah.
But they called him a sacrifice. So they still were bad. They just weren't terrible. You know, I mean, his ideas were a little bit more nefarious. I would say my favorite thing, I mean, I like the Deadpool Cable connection for later. I mean, it's always going to be the fact that Deadpool's funny. Is always going to be your favorite thing when you have
like,
it.
The Mountain Dew joke when he came back with the virus for them.
The fact that he was like, there was a soccer game. So I was here. I've been here for an hour, but this is all the stuff I've been doing.
At the very beginning when he's watching TV and he goes, oh, watch out, Buttercup, it's Mojo Jojo.
I liked too, you know, because on Most Valuable Podcasts, we talk about sports a lot. Will Bond got mentioned.
Did he? Yep. Oh, that's right.
I was watching TV. He's flipping through channels, and then Will Bond.
He did.
Now, anyways, yeah, my least favorite's going to probably be exactly the same as you. I mean, it just felt so forced. It felt like it wasn't well thought out. There was no hinting, and it was just, I don't know what to do. I'll put this out there.
And it just kind of seemed like they were trying to create like a buddy cop atmosphere at the end.
Well, I think that is what they're doing, yeah.
Because of like at the very end, so you get the last panel where Cyclops says Charles Xavier warned Cable that if he tried this, there would be no shortage of people to stop him. So when Colonel Fury called, I told him, the line starts behind the X-Men. The next page says, Wade Wilson and Nathan Summer, Marvel's mightiest mutant mercs, are back. And this time they're stuck with each other.
Right?
I just kind of think of like, and the reason why I read it in that voice was the like, South Park, Rob Schneider is a pickle.
I love that episode. Yeah, he's the stapler.
The stapler.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely going for that. And I like the idea, and I want to see some of it. And I'm sure, honestly, when it comes to the movie, we're going to see some of that type of environment. From what I've seen in the
trailer, the Deadpool Cable relationship is a lot better than this one.
Yeah. But I think we'll get some of that buddy cop type of stuff, you know, those type of interactions, some of that cheesy type of stuff.
Well, like the one that I've seen that's the best one so far is they're basically how far we are, and Cable's just blasting them with bullets, and Deadpool's like, and then it's like, wow, your bullets are fast. Like every single bullet just went right through Deadpool.
Yeah.
He didn't block a single one.
Yeah, it'll be a fun movie. I'm excited for it. You know, but yeah, this one to me, it kind of bummed me out.
It wasn't as strong as I thought it would be. It wasn't as good as I...
Yeah. Well, actually, that's exactly what I was going to say.
You got to think of this, too. And I mean, maybe this hurt us. The last Deadpool comic we read was amazing. Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe. You can check it out on the channel or on iTunes.
I mean, that's a must-read for anybody who's ever touched a comic book.
That was a great one.
Yeah, if you've ever touched a Marvel comic book, must-read. Now, this one, it just disappointed. It didn't hit any of my expectations.
I mean, so far to start the season, I'm going to say it. Spoiler if you haven't listened to the first episode.
Yeah.
But I mean... Not as bad for Infinity Gauntlet, but kind of dud to start, dud to continue.
Yeah. I really hope that Han Solo, when we read that, one's going to be good.
Like, it isn't terrible, but it's like, would I ever read this again? Probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not.
No.
I wouldn't read it.
And it's exactly. It's not terrible, but here's the thing. When it comes to Deadpool, you expect funny. It wasn't as funny. You know, you expect
It
pop
had its
culture.
moment.
Yeah, it was
It had
funny,
its
but it wasn't
moments.
as funny as other Deadpool things are. The pop culture references, you got enough of them, so I'm okay with that. Deadpool being the main character, he wasn't the main character. Cable was the main character, so
See,
you didn't
and
get that expectation.
And I wouldn't mind Cable being the main character if the plot was a little bit stronger. Like, and to me, it all hinged on that twist of, wait, Cable's the bad guy?
Yeah.
So it's like, it comes down to the question, and maybe this is what they were trying to ask, but it didn't really hit home with me. What happens when Cable's the bad guy? Cable's supposed to be coming back and be like, oh, I'm supposed to stop this rain and this rain. But what if we're supposed to stop him from happening?
If I had a guess, and I could be completely wrong, I think this little thing's going to get dropped really fast. I really think this was just a ploy to get us to this point. And now that these two are linked, Cable's going to drop this whole everybody's pink thing, and I'm controlling the world, and we're going to really quickly move into them just being buddy cop.
Do you think so?
I do. I think it's gonna be dropped really fast. I think they really just wanted to establish him building his little station, and them having this telekinetic link to each other and this whole teleporting thing.
Because I'm looking here. This is on Amazon. We're not going to read it anytime soon, so I'm going to read it anyways. Cable Deadpool Volume 2, which would be the second one, is called The Burnt Offering. And it's a floating city promises hope for humans and mutants alike. But if Cable plans to be Earth's savior, will Deadpool accept the role of betrayer?
There you go.
So it kind of looks like, hey, you're trying to save everyone the way you want to. However, I don't really agree with you.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like it'll end fast.
And I'm even
my guess.
And I'm even looking here. All right, I'm kind of interested. By the time we get to Volume 5, if we ever do,
We're not going to. I can tell you that right now.
the cover intrigues me because the cover is like Cable, like in a battlefield, and in his left hand, he's got Cap's mask, and he's got Cap's shield, and it's called Living Legends.
Interesting. Yeah, it's a cool picture. I can tell you we're not going to get to it, though. I don't want to get to Volume 2.
Mark's like, I don't even know if we'll read Volume 2.
We're not going to. I can tell you that right now.
I don't know. Maybe Season 15 we'll get back to
There
it.
are better Deadpool things we could read.
Yes.
For sure. Then that's really what it comes down to me. How about a recommendation?
I would say, I would say only read it if you're going to read Volume 2. Like, part of me wants to read Volume 2. Like, part of me wants to give it the... I'm going to spoil Morning Glories a little bit. Like, we're reading Morning Glories later this season. And you said last season that one more.
Yep.
You're giving it one more before you jump off the train. I feel like this needs almost the same treatment, where it's like, all right, the first one wasn't great. If the next one doesn't change and doesn't get me, then I'm off. I'll give you 2. I'll give you 2, but after 2, if you haven't gotten me, then you're off.
It's fair enough. That's my pilot rule usually. I'll give a TV show at least like 2 or 3 episodes.
Yeah.
Because pilots are never that representative of what the show's actually going to be.
It's more so what the studio wants it to be for testing and stuff.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It stays on the air.
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of times you're like, what will an exec want as I'm writing this, and you got to get into the flow.
Like, I like the fight scene between Cable and Deadpool.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
that was fun. It seemed like classic Deadpool, but then it's like, to me, the biggest problem with this graphic novel was the story.
Yeah.
The twist
Without
really,
a doubt.
The twist really killed
I mean,
it.
the storyline itself was just weak. It was a weak storyline.
It was just bland.
And the twist itself, I don't even necessarily want to call. I don't want to give it justice of calling it a twist.
Here's what
it was just. It was a wrench thrown in there.
Here's what I'll describe it. It's like you're eating some nice chili, right? You're sitting there, you're eating the chili, and you're going, man, this is supposed to have a little kick to it. And then you take a bite of it, and you go, this shit kind of bland. Didn't have a kick at all. It's just kind of bland. That's what this is. Oh, man, it's supposed to have a kick of humor in it, and it's like, yeah, it's just kind of bland. It's just kind of right there.
You said the same thing like three different ways. I appreciate it.
It's like Deadpool was in it. It kind of happened, but it wasn't what I expected.
Yeah, exactly. For my recommendation, I'm going to go ahead and say it. pass.
All right.
Just don't read it.
This is the first pass of the year.
Yeah, just don't read
Or
it.
season, I should say. Part of me doesn't think it's that bad.
It's not that it's that bad. You're
of-
just not missing anything.
But part of me doesn't disagree with you. Like,
Yeah.
you see where I'm at? Like, I'm like, you know what? If you like Deadpool, you should, like, you could read it. But I'm not going to tell you you should read it.
Yeah, I just don't. To me, it's just.
As Mark's like, don't waste your time.
There's just not a single thing really that happened. I mean, the humor is still there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not as humorous as other Deadpool books you could reuld. So go read one of those.
It's not kills the Marvel Universe, that's for sure.
Yeah, just go read a different one.
We should have just read part 2 of that.
We could have. I didn't know there was a part 2.
I think there is a part 2.
Because I'm pretty sure there shouldn't be. Because I'm not going to spoil it, but it's in the title. He kills the Marvel Universe.
It was recently. So 2017, it's called Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe Again.
That feels like a cash grab.
It was published in July of... This was the first issue. Was published in July of 2017.
Yeah, that's a cash grab. I'm calling it.
I'd still read it, man.
I would too.
Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe was good.
If you had... And I'm not going to spoil it, so don't worry. But if you had read the end of it... There's no possible way there could be anything after it.
Hey, man.
Cash grab.
You got to read it to find out, though, right?
Cash grab.
Yeah,
Anyways.
It was collected into a graphic novel in November of 2017. So recently.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm thinking of. It's tied to the movie's popularity.
Yeah, maybe.
But speaking of things involving movies being popular and what we're excited or maybe nervous about, next time, or for those of you who are on patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast, next week, you can check out when we read Star Wars Han Solo. And I'm excited about this. I love Star Wars.
Next week or 2 weeks?
Well, if you're on Patreon next week.
No, it's still 2 weeks. It's every other week for Patreon.
Well, I'm saying that if you are listening normal on YouTube and you love it and you want to go on to Patreon next week.
Okay. Now I got you.
So Patreon, you can get it a week early.
Yeah.
I got you. It's all right.
If you're listening to this on YouTube, you can get Han Solo next week.
Star Wars is awesome, is what we're saying. That is the description.
I hope this one's good. I hope
the
it's
movie
good.
or the graphic novel?
Both.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's favorite scoundrel goes solo. Han is given... Yeah, that was difficult to read. Han is given a top-secret undercover mission from the rebellion, rescuing several informants and spies. His cover for the assignment, only the biggest and most infamous starship race in the galaxy. So, I'm excited. I don't know if you're excited, but this is going to be fun.
The thing that was most interesting to me about this one is the cover. The artwork looks weird. Like
weird?
Like not maybe weird's the wrong one. It looks interesting to me, but I didn't want to use interesting again. Like it's not, but it's different than the one we just read, and it's got kind of a. I don't think we've read a graphic novel quite with this artwork before, from what I've seen from the cover of Han Solo.
It's in. Well, the cover. The cover is. I can tell you right now, as I just flipped through some pages on my computer. The cover is not indicative of what it looks like in the book.
Okay.
But still, it has an interesting look.
Because that's like me. I don't do that. Like when I go to read it, that's when I look at it. I won't like.
Well, now I
through
had
to see
to.
what it looks like. I know.
But yeah,
Sorry, I spoiled that for you, Mark.
yeah, it's an interesting look.
The cat is right out of the
The
bag.
cover is supposed to look a little old, I
Yeah.
think, and a little much like the movie.
Okay.
But like I've said before with things, it's always interesting when you have like Tony Stark from really long time ago before, Robert Downey Jr.
Because
played him.
that was the interesting thing. If you go back far enough, Tony Stark is like a I don't want to say raging, but he's a fucking alcoholic.
Yeah. But I mean, just looks wise.
Like he abuses alcohol.
Yeah. Looks wise and stuff. But Star Wars is always one of those ones where, no, you can't do anything else. Han Solo has to look like Harrison Ford.
Yeah, he does.
And it's not like it, and that's not a jab at the movie or anything like that.
I'm worried about the movie.
Because the look is fine. It's the voice that people are nervous about, but it's just the fact that the movie came first. So it has to, Leia has to look a certain way. Han has to look a certain way. Luke has to look a certain way. Those are just the rules.
Chewie's got to look like Chewie, man. If Chewie don't look like Chewie, we riot.
All of a sudden he's purple. What's going on?
He's Barney.
But anyways, you should check us out for that one because, like I said, Star Wars is awesome, and I'm excited to read. This is the first Star Wars thing we'll ever read for a graphic conversation.
I like how you said ever read. Like it's going to be the last Star Wars we ever read.
It could be. It could be. Who knows? We'll find out. But like I said, give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts, iTunes, all that stuff. Let people know if you like it. Let us know if you like it by giving us the thumbs up, hitting the subscribe button, commenting down below if we were wrong, if you hated everything we said, if you loved everything we said. At Ricky Widmer, at the Mark Weber, or at Most Valuable Pod. Patreon.com/Most Valuable Podcasts if you want to get stuff early and get exclusive podcasts. And of course, you can get t-shirts at mostvaluablepodcast.com. That's a lot of stuff, so don't worry about having to hear it all. It's in the description, so check that stuff out and come back in maybe 1 week, maybe 2 weeks, whenever. Hit that subscribe button so you know whenever actually is when we read Star Wars Han Solo.